showgram. Already broadcasting across this great nation of ours, across Alaska and Hawaii. Ladies and gentlemen, my first guest tonight is a Rhodes Scholar, Navy veteran, two-term mayor of South Bend, Indiana, is currently running for president of the United States. Please welcome back to The Late Show, Mayor Pete Buttigieg. Thanks for coming back.
Good, thanks.
Nice to see you again.
Good to be back.
You know, the last time you were here, people didn't know a lot about you at the time. You just got into the race, mayor of South Bend. Who is this guy? Right. We had you on, and when you left, I turned to my producer over there. I said, wow, I really felt like that guy was giving me real answers, what he really thought. He was really there, because a lot of politicians can be very mannered, very practiced. Now that you've been on the campaign trail for a while, how real are you? Or do you have handlers messaging you all the time?
It's all gone. Every movement's programmed. No, I mean, I think you gotta, it just takes so much more work to try to be somebody that they tell you to be. And being myself so far has worked out pretty well.
Well, how long has it been since you declared? Do you remember?
We started the committee in January, and then April we launched officially.
So we're about five months in right now. How has the trail been treating you? Because it can be rough.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun too, especially right now. So this is when we're really building out the ground game. We were just in Iowa. We're opening 20 offices in 20 days. And we're also going back enough that you start meeting the same folks more than once. Feel like you get to know them. Like, I was reunited with the kid who smacked me in the face recently.
Oh, I'm sorry, what happened?
So we're opening the office in Cedar Rapids. There's this woman. She looks a little familiar to me. She's got this little toddler in her arms. She says, do you remember my son? I was like, it kind of looks familiar. She's like, he's the one who smacked you in the face. I was like, oh, yes, I do remember this, actually. So they brought him. It was on a rope line. I was shaking hands after a speech a couple months ago. And, you know, when I meet a little kid, good thing to do is to have them give you a high five, right? If they're like not quite old enough for a handshake, you go for the high five. So I did that, and I just misjudged. Like, the kid was not quite old enough to get the high five concept. And so he just thwacked me. And then he was just kind of aware enough to know, I think from everybody's reaction, that was like not what he was supposed to do. And then he curled up and it started, you know, he was very shy. He was like starting to cry. I was like, no, it's okay. Like, it didn't hurt. Like, you'll be fine. Anyway, so it was nice to be.
I'm an Afghan veteran. Bring it.
But see, now I figure this kid will have a good story to tell.
At a town hall last night, the CNN town hall on climate change, 7 hours. What hour did they consign you to?
I think I was like the 5th hour. I was really impressed with just the CNN folks. The crew were holding up.
Well, how did the audience hold up for that?
I think they swapped them out every now and then.
Hosed them down and sent them back in. You last night in the town hall on climate change, you called climate change a sin.
Yeah.
In what way is climate change a transgression of God's laws?
Well, look, I'm not out to impose my faith on anybody else, but the
Sharia law, is this your Sharia law?
Look, I'm Episcopalian. And
you don't have Sharia law.
Our Sharia law is called the Book of Common Prayer.
Gotcha. Okay.
And there's a lot of stuff in there about the environment. There's a lot of stuff about stewardship for creation. But also, to me, environmental stewardship isn't just about taking care of the planet. It's taking care of our neighbor. We're supposed to love our neighbor as ourselves. And the biggest problem with climate change isn't just that it's going to hurt the planet. I mean, in some way, shape, or form, the planet's still going to be here. It's that we are hurting people. People who are alive right now and people who will be born in the future. It's the way I see it. I don't imagine that God's going to let us off the hook for abusing future generations any more than you would be off the hook for harming somebody right next to you. And with climate change, we're doing both.
Well, one thing that's sort of interesting to me is that you are the candidate, as far as I can tell, who is talking about their personal faith more than the other candidates on the Democratic side. And the GOP has gone a long way over the last generation of trying to make themselves the Christian party or the party of faith. Where do you see faith properly influencing your job as a politician?
Well, I think Democrats have been a little allergic to talking about faith. And it's largely for a very good reason, which is that we passionately believe that when you're running for office or when you're in office, you have an obligation to treat people of any religion and people of no religion equally. It's a basic American principle. But at the same time, as we see some of these figures on the religious right embrace behavior and I think policies, but definitely behavior, that flies in the face not just of my values, but of their own, then it reminds me of all of the parts of Scripture where there's a lot about hypocrisy. And I think we have an obligation to call that out and to speak about how, not just the Christian faith tradition that I belong to, but pretty much any religious or non-religious moral tradition I've ever heard of tells us that it's really important how we treat the least among us, the most vulnerable, the marginalized, that we are obliged to serve the poor and heal the sick and clothe the naked and welcome the stranger. Stranger, by the way, being another word for immigrant. And that what we're seeing right now in the White House is the opposite.
Well, we have a debate next week, next Thursday. Is it Thursday? Next Thursday night. We're live next Thursday night afterwards to make jokes about whatever you said. And give me something good, please. Give me something good.
I'll do my best.
Let's go fast. You're polling at 5% nationally. Okay, people have said, oh, there's the top three. There's Biden, and there's Warren, and there's Sanders, and then there's a second tier. No offense, it's not me, it's them saying it. I think you're top notch.
Some of them are saying it's tier 1B, just for the record.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, really? That's said.
No,
Spoken like someone who did a lot of outlines in school. So you're polling 5% nationally. How do you cut into it? In what ways do you think you can make an impression in a debate? What do you go in? What's your strategy?
Well, I think now that there's still an awful lot of us. But
only 10 in the debate.
Exactly. So now that it's starting to winnow down, people are starting to look for the contrasts. And I think it'll be important for me to convey how I'm different from the others. I like the others, I appreciate the others, I admire the others, but I'm not like the others. And it's not just a matter of style, it's also a matter of approach. It's why I'm not making the same promises that some of the candidates to my left are. I share the goals and believe that we can do it in a way that will bring Americans together. The idea of Medicare for all who want it is that we should, I agree that we should have universal health care, and I agree that we should have a public alternative and that the public alternative will be better. But I think it's best to allow Americans to choose that and vote with their feet instead of ordering 100 million Americans to switch and expecting that to work out. So these are some of the contrasts that I think will be important to surface in the debate. And also just explaining how I'm oriented toward moving the country forward, because I think we've gotten stuck in repeating some of these debates that have basically been drawn out for as long as I've been alive. If you start the clock in the early 80s, when I was born, that's about the time that a lot of things slowed down or stopped in this country, from wage growth for most Americans to progress on a lot of issues of equity, and then the new issues that emerged, like climate. We haven't done anything. So we can talk all day about whose plan has the exact right year for which target we're going to decarbonize. And obviously, I think mine's the best, but so does everybody else. But the real question is, what's it going to take to actually get it done this time? And that, I think, is a matter of breaking from the past and bringing a different approach to rallying Americans, not necessarily through ideological centrism, but through enlisting Americans in the name of the values that we share to get something done before it's too late.
So when you say ideological centrism, not necessarily ideological centrism, are you saying that to make sure you don't get pigeonholed into the two things that the press seems to be talking about right now?
Yeah, because
they're either incrementalists or you're radical change.
Right. For them,
where do you fall in that artificial split? I demand you pigeonhole yourself.
So look, I view myself as a progressive. That's how I view myself philosophically. I also think that there's more to this than just this kind of left to center line. So when I talk about the fact that we need to reform the Supreme Court, or that we need to start, if we want to call ourselves a democracy, we ought to pick our president by just, counting up all the votes and giving it to the person who got the most. I don't think you have to be particularly left or center to believe that. But I do think it's a bold initiative in addition to the things that we've been talking about a lot as a party, like the need for a higher minimum wage or the need for action on gun safety or climate, that we have to do those profound things. And I don't know that that will always line itself up on a left-right spectrum. The important thing is let's talk about what we actually have to do as a country so that a generation from now, we're not talking about yet another generation that lives through school shootings, yet another set of lost decades where it can remain possible for, right now the gross domestic product is going up and life expectancy is going down. That shouldn't even be possible. And shame on us if a generation from now we're having the same debates over the same issues and nothing's actually changed.
We have to take a brief break. We'll be right back with more Mayor Pete Buttigieg.